when it comes to that place. But otherwise, we are big Amazon people, and now that we use Instacart, I don't know that we'll ever turn back, honestly. So let's introduce Josh. Josh, thanks for coming on. We'll turn it over to you. Give us a little about yourself, online versus brick and mortar, and let's hear about the biz.
Yeah, thanks, Jared. My name is Josh Wulz with Skyline 7 Real Estate. We're a third-party brokerage firm here in Atlanta. We do some consultancy work across the country as well. We're primarily on the landlord side, primarily retail. So our job is to fill spaces, manage the property, and help them sell it. So basically, as a landlord, they don't have to do anything. In terms of my day-to-day, I'm on the leasing side. Do a little bit of office work, do a little bit on the tenant side. So I've got my hands in a lot of different projects, but my expertise is landlord representation. So in terms of answering that original question, which I think is a great question, I've always been primarily brick and mortar, but as the number shows, 16% is pretty high. And that number is only increasing, and it's only going to continue to go up over the next couple of years as retailers change their models to accommodate for people's preferences during the pandemic. I actually just did a grocery delivery for the first time the other day. And, I think from a dry goods standpoint, I think it was fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It came within 4 hours. I was pretty impressed, and didn't have to go to the grocery store. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I do think, like before the pandemic, you were seeing a lot of retail because of some of y'all's responses. You were seeing a lot of retail go from more goods oriented, from everything being, Pier 1, Bed Bath Beyond home goods, to a lot of service oriented retailers, tax offices, insurance offices have gotten away from Class A office buildings, moved into retail. So as medical, and a lot of entertainment uses, and I think you've also seen a lot of the service retailers that were generally smaller, like a nail salon. They've like doubled and tripled in size. So that's how I think that's how a lot of shopping centers are maintaining their occupancy rates in this time or before this time. And I think it's going to be a little bit more challenging, just given less people are using those services because of COVID. So trying to think of creative ways post-COVID to fill spaces is going to be the challenge moving forward. So in terms of what it's going to be like, I think the retailers that do the best job of sort of streamlining your in-store pickup, your online, your delivery, and then obviously your in-store shopping, and have a blend of all three are going to be the ones that are the most successful. I mean, you look at, and obviously that ones that keep up with the times. You look at a group like Pier 1, who is about to close all their stores. They might go to an online only platform, but their consumer base was primarily at baby boomers and older. They didn't really tap into the Gen Xers, the Gen Z or Gen Ys, and obviously not Gen Zs, and they're struggling accordingly. And I think you're seeing a lot of these retailers go bankrupt during this time. And I was mentioning to Hal and Jared before everyone else got on the call. To me, it's more of this wasn't caused by the pandemic. This was more exacerbated by it. It's just causing these trends to show themselves a lot quicker than it normally would have, which I think in the long run, it will actually be good for the retail industry to sort of cleanse itself from the retailers that were just bringing everybody else down. And I think everything's going to look a lot different. You're seeing Macy's. Macy's is getting away from their high-end 120,000 square foot stores. They're now starting to open these Macy's backstage concepts that are a little bit more discount oriented, which I think targets millennials, Gen Zers a little bit more. And it's a little bit smaller. You're not in these bigger malls. And I think another thing the pandemic's doing is showing that people weren't really going to malls as much before this, but who wants to walk into a big enclosed space where we're all breathing the same air during a pandemic? It's just the consumer's not wanting that right now. So that's another trend. You're seeing a lot more outdoor common areas in retail where it's drawing people there as more of a place to get together. whether there's green spaces or more restaurants with patios, just ways to keep people outside and keep people comfortable. And again, these were already in effect before, and I think it's only going to speed up after. And another big one is where the retailers are going. If you've noticed, there's a much bigger difference between the retail that you find in, let's just say, Midtown, Buckhead, and Central Perimeter, where you have all, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people congregating in office space. They need places to go. They need places to go eat during lunch. There's also retail surrounding that, just accordingly. And I think now that you have people working from home successfully, some more than others, obviously, but you're going to see a lot more of a decentralization of these office areas. And I think a revitalization of downtown areas, whether it's, everyone already knows downtown Roswell here, downtown Alpharetta has been really kicking into gear, Duluth. So I think these downtowns are going to be revitalized. I think you're going to see a lot more complementary retail in these markets. So you might notice a few more coffee shops than just your average Starbucks that's on the way to work. You might see a lot more coffee shops come about in various different areas to help people with their work from home. So there's a lot of different changes going on right now. So I guess, were there any questions or anything that anybody wanted to talk about in specific as it comes to retail? The one thing I love about retail real estate is it does affect everybody. It's a part of our culture. So I always like to hear what other people have to say about what's going on.
It was an interesting trend that you say that people are going to move from the centralized office districts, the large type A's, to more rural where they're living. How fast can something like that happen?
It's not going to happen overnight. We've seen a lot of large office deals get nixed in the last 3 to 6 months. I think Macy's was going to sign about a 250,000 square foot office deal at Atlantic Station. They decided to cut that one out. Some of those jobs are still getting created, but I think it's going to happen over the next 5 years as leases start to roll over. People are starting to downsize. People are trying right now. There was about a 67% increase in offices listed for sublease in Midtown Atlanta over the last 3 months. That number went from something like 1.5 million to about like 2.5, almost 3 million. So it's starting to happen. It can't happen overnight because everyone's legally bound to contracts. So it just naturally takes some time, but the wheels are in motion already.
Are you in contact with a lot of your retail, with a lot of the people in your retail space? What are their feelings about it? Is everybody just jumping off the ship and scared, or?
Well, it's not the best time to be a landlord, that's for sure. I'll say that people have cautious optimism about the future. People are trying to work together. It's not really a tenant versus landlord situation. It's how can we get through this together? Landlords don't want vacancies. We want full shopping centers. We want vibrant areas. So it's how can we best get through this together to accommodate the tenant, but at the same time, the landlord has bills to pay too. So they have to figure out means to perform the obligations that their lender beset with them. So no one's really jumping off ship. It's been really difficult. There's been a lot of COVID clauses into leases to give tenants more comfortable, or to give tenants a bigger sense of comfort to help expand their businesses. So if there's ever a shutdown, rent's abated accordingly. That's just one item, but it's been really hard to implement so far in practice. And from a legal standpoint, it's just so new to us that we don't really know yet. So it's more, but it's more, there's a lot of camaraderie. It's really showing the tenants you want in your shopping center, such as like Starbucks sent a letter to every single one of their landlords saying they weren't going to pay rent for a year. Their sales did not take a hit. There was no change to their model whatsoever, other than more drive-through. But their stores are so small, they weren't really catering as much to the drinking the coffee in the store type consumer. So those kind of tenants, people are going to have red flags about moving forward because they are not here to work together. Whereas like a TJ Maxx and Home Goods, they've been unbelievable to work with during this time. It's just, it's been, yeah, there's been a little bit of abatement, but hey, we're going to pay you back over time. So it's really going to give landlords a sense of who they want to work with moving forward.
And where's does anybody else have anyone else? So I sort of kind of bring up, sorry about the foster dog, bring up the conversation about online and using retail for pickup as opposed to shopping. Any trends you're seeing these large box places? You know, there was that big deal with Whole Foods and Amazon. Not sure anything's really changed much about, you know, you hear people talking about shopping for shopping to touch versus just to pick up.
I mean, I think the retailers that are able to implement that are the ones that are going to be able to survive this. Yeah, Best Buy sales have gone up, and it's primarily through their in-store pickup. A lot of people just don't want those kind of items delivered for whatever reason. But you know, we've been sort of redesigning shopping centers to accommodate all of this. So we're trying to create more, not drive-throughs and not drive-up windows, obviously, because these are 30 to 50,000 square foot stores. But we're trying to make our parking area more conducive to this, so it's A, safe, and B, traffic still flows. And so it makes it seem like this was meant for in-store pickup. We're taking away more parking for outdoor spaces, for patios, for restaurants, and usually patios were free. Now people are starting to charge for them. So there's been a lot of talks of redesigning a lot of different shopping centers to accommodate, like you said, for those in-store pickups, because that is partially the future of retail.
Hank or Kristen, any questions you want to pose on what's going on with retail?
No, I just think that that's really interesting, and from a consumer standpoint, I could see how the convenience of being able to order online, go to a store, pick it up. You can look at the quality and make sure that whoever stocked it for you, picked, you know, good stuff. Like, you know, you go to buy a board game and when the box is all chewed up and you can tell someone's tampered with it, like you choose the other game that's just behind it on the shelf, right? So the store might want to get rid of the damaged product. So you can still look at it before you actually correct it. That's an interesting thing. And then I work with a couple of retailers, like mom pop shop, and they've been enlisting drop ship options. That's not quite, they're not responsible for doing all of the shipping. It's coordinated with the vendor and the buyer, and they still get the revenue for being the retailer. Just because then they don't need the inventory space.
That's true.
Yeah, you've been seeing a lot of, there was a huge trend right before this all happened. I don't know if it's going to continue, but a lot of retailers were going smaller in size, a little bit more boutique of a look. Just like you said, less storage needed because of the logistics have just gotten so, I mean, they're just so far ahead where they were logistically 10 years ago in terms of bringing the item to the consumer. So they've been able to save money on that end, but I do think that there's going to be a trend back towards increasing footprints, but not for storage, but just more for a comfort level, for your customers in the store, just for more space, more social distancing. But yeah, that has been less storage than ever, and I think that that meme there on the front on that first page was pretty spot on with the Raiders of the Lost Ark. So. It's no one really knows. You know, everyone has their opinion on what the future is going to look like. I mean, my personal opinion is retail's been around for 5,000 years. It's the second oldest type of real estate behind residential. So we're always going to want a sense of community, a place to go. It's going to look a lot different, but I think there's certain people within our community that are ahead of the trend, and there's some that are lagging well behind. And you're going to start to see those ones lagging behind continuously disappearing.
Who are,
Bed Bath Beyond, for example.
Josh, can you give us 2 or 3 that are ahead of the curve that we should be watching?
TJ Maxx is probably the top retailer on the market right now. From a non-grocer standpoint, they just, even their home goods concept, which has that treasure hunting aspect to it, they just have kept up with the times. It's really the same model as a Pier 1, but their selection is, it appeals to a wide range of ages. Like, I shop there, also my grandmother-in-law shops there, whereas you're not seeing the same customer base inside of a Pier 1, inside of a Bed Bath Beyond. I think a retailer to watch for in this time are some of the home improvement ones. I think particularly Tractor Supply. They've been growing like crazy. They've been doing extremely well, but at the same time, as people are in and around their house more looking, and they see more projects to do, they have more time on their hands. Maybe what's important to them has changed a little bit over this time. I think Tractor Supply is another big box tenant to watch out for, in terms of, you're going to start seeing them grow. You're going to start seeing a lot more Tractor Supplies around you, more so than the Home Depots of the world. And the difference between a Tractor Supply, just so you know, is you take the garden area of a Home Depot or Lowe's. That's their focus. It's not garden per se, but that's really their focus, is more outdoors. And I think you'll start to see them grow a lot. And then a third sort of national retailer to watch out for. I mean, I think any discount brand that's been able to enter this time without too much leverage or debt. There's talk about stage stores. So if you're familiar with stage stores, that's Goodies, Gordman's, they're just a discount. They're a discount store. Anything like a Bargain Hunt, if you've heard of them, or an Ollie's. It's very similar to Goodwill. Goodwill without the donation-based platform. But I just think with sort of my generation I will say, is one of the poorer generations we've had in a long time. Just very little wealth, a lot of student loan debt, and then you couple that with this virus that's put a lot of different people out of work. I think you're going to see the discount brands explode. And I know that we're working with one. Can't really say who it is, but working with one of the 5 biggest national, one of the dollar stores. Actually, I can tell you that much. And they're opening up several new brands. They're opening up an in-town concept to accommodate for all people in their high rises that just need something quick and easy, that don't want to go to a grocery store, don't want to go to a Target, but just need certain items. It's just your neighborhood convenience store. They're opening up something to compete with Target. So these discount retailers, I think, are another group to really watch out for better or for worse, moving forward.
And Hank, anything you're seeing, I mean, from the payment processing, are you seeing any trends that tie back to what Josh is talking about?
So I am, actually, and I was going to mention that. So one of the things that's happening, and Josh has talked about a lot of the bigger retailers, but the small guys are really important too. And one of the things that's happened is that the POS systems have really worked to enable an online aspect of those systems, so that a smaller retailer can adapt quickly and offer their merchandise online with some sort of curbside pickup or something like that. So we've seen a lot of that, and we've had a couple of clients kind of go in that direction here over the last 3 or 4 months. So I think that's definitely been a trend. Obviously, the restaurants are focused on carry out and delivery for those that can do delivery. One of the things that is happening kind of in the restaurant space is there's so many folks that have relied on the Uber Eats and the Grubhubs and the Chow Nows and all the different delivery services. Those are really expensive for those restaurants to use. And so, I mean, they can charge 20%, 25% off the top. And so a lot of folks are trying to develop their own online system, so they're not paying all of those fees to those particular services. The one thing I was gonna ask Josh was, if you put on your future-looking glasses 1 year from now, when hopefully the pandemic, I won't say it's going to be completely behind us, but we're well on our way. What do you think? How do you think it's going to look then?
So I think to answer that question, you made a really good point about mom and pops, first of all. And I have left them out a little bit, which I probably should not have. They're 20 to 25% of even some of your biggest landlords. Their portfolio is 20 to 25% mom and pop retailers. And if you lose all your mom and pops, that 20, 25%, that's a huge decrease in NOI there. So it's going to be as important now than ever to keep them afloat. And unfortunately, I think just given some of the larger retailers, their access to credit, their ability to work with the numbers a little bit more than your mom and pop, who might be, I don't want to say they're cash businesses, but they're a little bit more cash centric. I think it's going to be harder for those to get through it. And I do have a little bit of a fear that we're going to be looking back in a year and half of our mom and pop shops are going to be gone. I think sort of areas are going to be, I don't want to see deculturalized, that's not the right word, but everything's going to feel like a chain. It's going to be more franchise-based, chain-based. You're not going to see that local mother who wanted to cook, her authentic cuisine of whatever kind. You're going to see, I think, a far few less of those around, which will be unfortunate. But I do think overall, it'll create a nice little reset in a few years to where you can start seeing them come back, because rents are just unsustainable right now, in my opinion. I think real estate prices in general are they're just unstable. They're just not very sustainable long term. I don't understand how some of these mom and pops have been making money during this time, but they've been managing, and I think a nice reset over the course of the next few years is what it'll take to bring back the mom and pops. And I do, like I said, I think we're going to lose them over the next year, but hopefully over the course of the next 5 years, we start seeing them come back in greater numbers than ever. You have seen a few do well, like your local butcher shops have done extremely well during this time, but outside of that, it's been a real struggle. And not to mention, for the Uber Eats comment you made, that's really been hurting restaurants as well. That's a big one. So, we gotta help our local businesses out for sure as much as we can.
And that's probably a good place to wrap up. I was thinking this was getting to become a very negative situation about going to all the franchises and all discounts, but when you bring back, Josh, that we can help local businesses and it will come back or come around, I think it leaves a real positive thought that makes this a good conversation from today. So I want to thank you for being here and sharing your thoughts. And as you know, we always leave with a little bit of humor. So this was shared this podcast. And we'll remind everybody that we have a interesting conversation tomorrow with Master Performance. Iris Grimm is a coach for CEOs to help understand what's blocking them from their successes. And then we've got two other speakers already lined up. You see listed here for good conversations. Thank you all. Let's stay positive. I think there's lots of opportunity out there. And I think, Josh, you described it really, really well when you said the pandemic simply is exacerbating what we already knew was happening.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Thank you, Josh.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man. Y'all have a great day.
Take care.
See you, everybody.
Bye.
Hi, everyone.